Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
And my name is David Howe.
And boy, oh boy, we survived in Texas to bring you this very special episode all about the Nintendo Direct and the crazy shit that happened here in Texas in the winter storm crisis.
That's right. This episode's a two-parter, ladies and gentlemen.
One part personal.
Yeah.
The other part, more or less so.
Yeah. I mean, you might remember if you're a longtime listener of the show, whenever COVID-19 first broke out, we kind of selfishly took a special episode to just kind of talk through what was going on in the world. And that ended up being really helpful for at least me mentally. So we figured since we didn't do an episode this week because none of us had power and because there was a Nintendo Direct and we just needed to vent, we do this special episode for you today. If this isn't your cup of tea, go ahead, tune out right now, baby.
Yeah,
or skip forward to the Direct.
Skip forward to the Direct. We'll put a timestamp on YouTube.
Yeah. Or if this is your cup of tea, pull up a nice chair, pull on a nice sweater, and hear us bitch about Texas politics.
Yeah, pull out your Ted Cruz voodoo dolls. We're getting frisky. Anyway, how we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been very draining and physically, emotionally, all that.
Yeah. This is the first time we've talked since all the power went out. I guess if you're not like familiar with what happened,
we should probably give some context.
Yeah. I know we have some listeners that aren't like from the US and certainly not from Texas, but
right. So on Sunday, this past weekend, which would have been Valentine's Day, February 14th, a winter storm rolled into Texas on the whole. This is an unusually strong storm because of climate change. This is my understanding. Like weather patterns that usually form around the Arctic are breaking down and spinning out into other parts of the world, and
which tends to happen when the Arctic Circle gets warmer. It pushes out the cold air,
and the Arctic is drastically changing. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's something I've actually been reading about and following. So I'm a little bit.
Don't worry, listeners. We'll do a whole episode on climate change.
Here it is.
We'll talk about climate change and bug snacks. It's just so we hit both audiences.
But to bring it back to the personal, on Sunday on which was Valentine's Day, February 14th. Things started to get real icy here, and if you're from somewhere that's used to that, that's great. But here, when things ice, everything shuts down, and there's great risk of accidents and pipes bursting and stuff like that because houses aren't insulated. And it was such a big storm that the power systems froze. All the ways that people in Texas get power, all that froze. Like natural gas reserves and the even though it's a big deal was made about it, but wind turbines because they aren't winterized froze and that kind of stuff. And so I'm not meaning to be the sole narrator here. Y'all jump in.
Patrick, this is your job on the podcast.
Yeah. Explain climate change and why Texas has a privatized electrical grid.
Yeah. And unlike a lot of the rest of the nation, Texas has its own energy grid.
Right.
And on top of that, because of cost, it's not really been updated to deal with extreme cold. Even though it should be, obviously,
for sure.
Quick shout out to Robert Segovia, who's a friend of the podcast, because he posted something that's like a once in a lifetime storm, even though this happened in 2011 and 1989, and I was alive for all those. So
it's once in a lifetime if you keep dying at the age of 10.
Yeah. So, that caused major power outages. And according to an article I read from the Texas Tribune, was like so bad that it was even close to like completely blowing the grid for like months. Like,
I saw that. It was like minutes away, potentially from that happening.
Right. So, for all the shit we rightfully want to give the bigwigs, there were maybe some people on the ground that did some made some good decisions about some things.
In pulling it, you mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then
I think the thing that's really disappointing to most people though is just like that it was possible for it to get into that situation in the first place, right? Because like as I understand it, like I mean, obviously there are acts of God, if you want to call them that. Right. You know, there are extreme weather events, you know, whether or not that was caused by climate change notwithstanding, there have always been hurricanes. There have always been cold spells. There have always been, you know, tornadoes and all this kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff happens, right? But like what about this that could have been prevented, obviously, is any sort of modicum of preparation for such an event, right?
Right.
Even with the 2 weeks leading up to it, we all knew this was happening. Everybody was saying, there's going to be a huge freeze. Yeah, but everybody just like assumed that people who knew what they were doing and had the power to like prevent terrible things from happening also knew that or cared, right? It's like one or the other, or were comfortable with them,
or competent.
With it. Yeah, well, I think comfortable with it affecting their bottom line. Really is a way to kind of, because this seems to kind of all be like a cost cutting measure, which is really what got us into the situation in the first place. So I think there's a lot of frustration right now from people in Texas, and I think all over the world that have been reading about the story on that. And so, yeah, if we're not like super chipper, it's because we're all fucking pissed.
Yeah, and to set the narrative and the stage a little bit more is not only did many of us not have power, also the roads were dangerous, so you couldn't go out and get the water that you needed or the food or even travel to a friend's house who did have power, because Texas doesn't have the infrastructure, plows, salt trucks, all of that to clean the roads, just because it happens so infrequently. It wouldn't make sense to have Texas invest all the money for it to happen, you know, a couple times a year.
Nobody knows how to drive in it, and we don't have cars or tires built for it, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a bunch of shit.
I was on, so I lost power on Monday morning, and then into Tuesday. That's when like temperatures were getting to like freezing conditions inside my home, and I started posting about that, and a friend saw and let us seek refuge at their place on Tuesday. And they had power and they had heat and all that, and it was really, really nice. But they're also like smokers, and they have like a balcony, and they're like right on 45th Street. And I just witnessed like 3 cars slide into other cars like throughout the time that we were on their balcony. You know what I mean? And you're right. It's like obviously there's a danger. You know, you could be the best driver in the world in icy conditions, but if you're surrounded by people who don't know what the fuck they're doing, it does not matter at all.
When they run into you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like when you're in a Mario Maker 2 like lobby, right? And like one person has really bad internet. Like it doesn't matter if you have the best internet in the world. Like you're going to have a really terrible laggy time.
Yeah. And I think like the point of like, you know, we're very privileged in our life to not have to deal with like regular power outages and water scarcity and all that, but the combination of all the things was particularly stressful, right? Like no water, no power, nowhere you can go safely, you know, like even if it was not too far, it's too far to walk, you can't drive, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if it wasn't, it was all the utilities, right? It was like, so I know some people that had power and water and internet, but no gas. And then I know people that like had gas and power, but no internet. And then people that just haven't had potable drinking water like for the entire week. Do you guys all have drinking water at the ready? I mean, we have a boil notice right now, but do you guys like have running water again?
We do.
I have running water, but it's very like a really low flow.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah, so just also is just like in the weeds, but I live in a different municipality than David and Matthew, and so the times and stuff that I experienced, things were slightly different than y'all.
Right. It's similar. It's similar to how like Princess Peach is from the Mushroom Kingdom, but Princess Daisy is from Sarasa Land.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Very
continue.
similar to that. They're one is a suburb of the other. But so yeah, like I think the most stressful day for me was Tuesday because we didn't have water or power, and we hadn't had it, either for a while. And it was like, what are we gonna do? Like, I guess is that more in that dilemma we're talking about of like, do I get in my fucking Prius and try to get somewhere that's not a good idea, or do we stay here where the risks? I don't know when these things are going to, because there's no information. It was like, well, we don't know when power will come back on or when water will come back on or whatever. So we were boiling snow to drink. Thankfully, we didn't end up drinking a ton of it. I mean, it's fine to drink, top snow or whatever, as I understand it. And we did some, but a coworker brought us some water in their 4-wheel drive vehicle. And so at least we were okay. And we decided to stay, and that was the right decision because power came back on and stuff, and we didn't get into a wreck. So.
Yeah. I think the little driving we did was to locations that were about like 5 minutes away that we felt decently comfortable with, Yeah. But I also know people that had to drive to like entirely different cities. Yeah. And like risked all that.
That was my problem. As I said, I live far away from, or I don't live in Austin proper. And like, I don't know any, I don't have a home. I know some people in our neighborhood, but they were all in the same boat. Like I didn't, only choices I had were very far away places. And our neighborhood was pretty bad, especially like our street, because it's not a very traveled street. So
how do you guys think you performed in survival mode?
Rate yourself.
I think we all, I think like the one thing about this is that we all like learned if we would be good in a survival situation.
Oh, totally.
Because and if you're not like from Texas and you weren't in this, like you might think we're blowing it a little out of proportion, but it like truly was like, okay, now there's this obstacle that we need to figure out, and if we don't figure this out, we can't move forward. Right? It was like very like all of a sudden like survival mode for everybody. Right? You're
saying was, but I know like we were talking about this before. There are still some people without power because of localized incidents or water. Like I know my boss's house doesn't have water, and then there are people without food because they didn't stock up on food and the grocery store shelves are getting hit. I went to a Target because I have a friend who was like, do you have any food? And I'm like, well, you can have my food, but I'll try, see if I can go somewhere too,
What was Target like?
This is something else that just reminded me of that I want to talk about here in a minute, which is like this all happening during COVID too. But like Target was not as bad as I thought, but all that was left is weird stuff on the shelves, like pepperoncinis and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
And then some nourishment right there.
Canned corn and
banana
and some
peppers.
stuff. So I bought a lot of canned goods, which we'll use eventually if,
Patrick, are you feeding your family with off-brand pizza rolls?
Yeah, we are eating banana peppers out of the jar.
He's eating Tito's pizza.
Yeah, I love Tito's.
Everybody loves good old Titoni.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Anyway,
also, the fact you mentioned gas. The biggest concern that I have is people that are unfamiliar with carbon monoxide poisoning, who are trying to heat their homes with, they have gas access, but they actively have their burners on without fans or windows open.
Right.
So another fear that seizes you is, man, maybe my neighbor's house is going to blow up, explode. Or if you live in an apartment complex, maybe that'll explode, or maybe they will pass out from carbon monoxide poisoning, and then their burners will stay on and therefore explode. So it's like all of those situations for Texas residents who haven't lived in, haven't had to deal with this situation before. It's a lack of experience, all of it.
Pipes bursting too. That's like another similar kind of issue too. You talk about like apartment buildings, like maybe you're doing everything fine, but I think it was Robin that said that their upstairs neighbor, there was nobody that lived there, and it's like owned by somebody that doesn't live here, and
that burst.
That their pipes burst, and so water was coming in their ceiling and stuff like that.
Because there's nobody there to drip the pipes.
Yeah.
And so it was, yeah. Yeah, that a lot of the stories I was hearing about flooded domiciles were apartments, right? But I mean, it happened to everybody, man. Like, I'm sure they won't mind me saying this, but I mean, Rob, who was on the show, our 100th episode, and Jeremy, who was on an episode pretty recently before that, they lived together and their pipes burst, and they were dripping their faucets, but they had their like washing machine area. The way that the pipes were set up just had sitting water that froze and expanded, and there's no way to really drip that, unless you're running the washing machine, right? Oh. And so their whole house flooded, and as soon as Sasha and I were able to get back to our house, whenever our power came back on Wednesday, like pretty much immediately after we got here, Rob and Jeremy showed up. You know what I mean? And so we kind of housed them until just today. We're recording this on a Friday. And they, they've just left. I think they got a hotel. I think they've got their power back on, but it's like, they're having to deal,
Yeah, you can't get that fixed is the other thing, right? Like that happens. How many pipes are burst? Tons.
Yeah.
How many plumbers are there? They're going to be busy. It's going to
right. And then it's also like, you can only do one item until you've done another. You know what I mean? Like you can't have the electrician work on it until the plumbing is fixed, but that you can't get the plumbing fixed until you do X, Y, or Z. Just to continue my my analogies to gaming related things, it's like when you open up, case to play a game, but then the wrong disc is in there. So you go to like another game case for that one, but then another disc is in that, and you have to like track it down. And it's just, it's like a nightmare to figure out, especially if like you're a new homeowner, or like you guys are homeowners, right?
Yeah.
And like I rent, so I can just like make my landlord do stuff. It's nice.
The biggest fear
that's got to be scary,
I barely got any sleep thinking about like are the pipes dripping, or are the faucets open, and what's the current status of the water coming out of the pipes? Like all the way up through today.
Even tonight, it's freezing tonight here still.
Right, exactly.
Things started to thaw out today, but like it's freezing again. So there's a lot of water that's going to refreeze. The roads tomorrow aren't going to be great, potentially.
Yeah,
I mean, it'll be sunny, so it'll melt, and then we'll be out of it probably. Knock on wood.
This should be the last night of freezing temperatures. Yeah, in Texas, but
just I don't want to hit on this too much. So
okay.
Feel free to, if we want to move on a little bit, is that part of the narrative that sucked on Monday and Tuesday is, it was hard for me to get news because, everyone was using cellular data. So everything was real slow and news was trickling out. But ERCOT, which is kind of the daddy electrical company in Texas, said that they were going to do rolling blackouts. So you might have, power for a couple of hours and then a couple hours not having power, but that didn't end up happening whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think that ever happened.
They said the system got stuck or something, which I think that was the plan, and then it got stuck because it happened a little bit for me. At certain times, and it happened to, especially for a coworker of mine in Marble Falls. They said that they would have like power for like 30 minutes and then 30 minutes off, and that like here it was
that would have been
like
awesome.
A couple hours and stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it's frustrating, And then when you were talking about the flow of information, Matt.
Yeah.
What was frustrating also is just like I just felt like there was so little official communication from people that are in charge. You know what I mean? Or in the high ups. It's like, for instance, we got a boil water notice for Austin. Like we still have it on. I think through the weekend we're supposed to boil all our water because
it's probably going to be longer than that. But
because the water treatment plants are fucked, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's a couple things because they lost power for periods of time and or couldn't meet their conditions. There is like, and I don't know how good Texas's requirements are on this because obviously we've learned that Texas sucks for regulations, but there are regulations that water has to be tested and all these things have to happen before they can withdraw a boil water notice. And there are only so many people that can test water and that kind of thing. And it has to be done now everywhere in Texas almost because of this. And so like they're actually bringing in people from out of state, which is unusual and that kind of stuff. So maybe it'll go a little faster, but
right. And that's fine. And it's, and boiling water isn't that big of a deal. It just, it's sucks, an inconvenience.
But it's the first, like it's first world people, like whatever, like
totally.
Not everybody has water,
And that's beside the point. Like, that's not even like what I was really trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not just like bemoaning that, but rather it's like, I never got an official message from anyone saying that there's a water boil notice. Like, I learned that through Instagram, you know what I mean? Or like the Austin subreddit or through Facebook. And it's like, that was just kind of something interesting about all of this. That was kind of enlightening to me, as we're all in survival mode and we still do have cellular data, thank God. If we didn't, who knows how anybody would have gotten any information, I guess shouting in the streets, but it's like, I don't know. That's kind of both nice and terrifying, right? It's like you would think that everybody would get like a text on their phone from the city saying that there are these emergencies happening, right? Or a call or whatever, right? But yeah, it was kind of just like having to rely on your fellow man or your fellow humans, right?
Yeah.
Of like to get your information, to like help each other out. Like, I just felt like throughout the entire process, there wasn't ever any like real accountability or taking responsibility for helping people other than people just helping each other. You know what I mean? In a way that's beautiful, but it also like sucks that it has to be like that. Right.
No, totally. And I don't want to talk too much, but like, I agree. I think that, the leadership of our state, especially, but, you could maybe even look lower down places, but, it was all about, I've seen a lot of praise for mutual aid groups and just neighbors. And like, my wife went and checked on we have a neighbor that's a woman that lives by herself and you doing okay? I mean, like that kind of stuff. I spent more time talking to my neighbors than I ever had.
Same.
And like, doing things with them and stuff like that. And cause like, it's like, okay, maybe these are people I should know better and stuff for when things like this happen, because they're the only people who are going to help me or hurt me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Find the one with the most lean meat that you can eat first. You know what I mean?
But that's where this was interesting in COVID too, because it's like, man, pure survival trumps that. Like, I'm not going to tell my neighbor to put on a mask when we're looking for our water mains together out here. You know what I mean? And shit
COVID
like that.
took a break this week. Like, nobody...
I mean, I don't think it did, but yeah.
No, but it was like basically everybody just had to focus on other things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. Just a quick follow up to that point about how like this was kind of a nice application of social media in a way of just like being able to share information quickly in a time when it's needed to be shared quickly. I think the flip side to that and the part that really scares me is, less than 10 minutes into this thing, you had Republican lawmakers going on TV and Fox News and immediately blaming this on green energy, which is just a lie. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, some of the turbines failed, but you know what else failed? The natural gas, the coal, everything failed. It's like not just the wind turbines, right? And so it's like, and then, but what scares me about it is that it's like, we know we're in this time of social media where everybody's just being shown their side. So it's like, there's a million people that like, as they're losing power, they go to their social media, pull it up, and they're like, oh, this is the wind turbines. And that's the only thing that's shown to them,
And then, the flip side of that too, like you said, is we're not perfect either. There's been a lot of rightfully dumped hate on Ted Cruz for going to Cancun and all that. But like, there's been some tweet that he didn't really write, probably, that's being like a fake thing that's getting shared around on left-wing circles. So we all need to double check our facts.
No,
guess,
absolutely. And I had that conversation when I talked to my dad. It was like, I'm seeing stuff about demographically what areas of Austin have power and which ones don't. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that, gets the leftist in me all fired up. You know what I mean? But then I'm like, is this just my socialist social bubble showing me this right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or
is
like,
it true?
You have to take
whatever.
a step back. Yeah. It's a shame we're in those times, I suppose.
Especially when information is scarce and everybody wants somebody to blame, and you know what I mean? And I think we are right to point the blame at the leadership that we had in this state. It's bad, and their whole agenda is to gut the government and then say the government doesn't work. It feels that way, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we also need to look within and a little bit too, right? Like,
Totally.
we're all to blame for not knowing about how the power grid works and then demanding it be fixed or whatever. Or, not that it's on average citizens, but like, same thing with climate change a little bit, right? Like we like to stick our heads in the sand and pretend the world's fine until it isn't, like, I don't know what I'm saying exactly. I'm ranting.
Got it. You want me to be a doomsday prepper. Understood.
Well, I think we all are now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you, I've developed a bit of a taste for Depression era food and military rations. I'll be buying a lot more canned goods going forward. I had so much spam. I will say my favorite meme, I think I saw it all this, and there have been a number of good ones, but I think having just recently watched The Avengers, it was a meme of, I think it was Kobe Smulders saying, "When did you become such an expert on the Texas energy system?" And then Robert Downey Jr. is like, "Last night."
Yeah, totally, right? Like
yep.
All of us here
we
talking
all,
about things. Yeah.
Yeah, we all became experts on the topic immediately. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to say on this fucking disaster?
Man. Yeah, I don't know. What a weird time for a big direct to be announced.
Yeah. Yeah. Truly. It's good. I'll say before we move on, I'll just say thanks for humoring us. It's good to talk about it, and it's good to talk to you guys, like throughout the past 2 years doing the show, we've grown like pretty close. And it's whenever major events like this happen, it's always nice to like check in and see how y'all are doing. I'm just glad to see we all have power and we're all safe and well fed for the most part.
And this is traumatic, and I recognize that there's parts of the world where there are rolling blackouts all the time, or you never know, and maybe you don't always have water and all that kind of stuff. But the addition of the freeze and inability to do things definitely, I think, and even if it was a wake up call or whatever, it on top of the already trauma of COVID going on, it's like, and like, my work has been pretty good, but like, I do get work messages and stuff too. And there's a little bit of like, I am at the bottom rung of Maslow's hierarchy of needs here. I am boiling snow to drink. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Where are my fucking TPS reports?
Exactly. It's like, I don't know if I can deal with this right now. And I don't know that I can deal with it tomorrow, even when this is over. Like, I might need a minute,
Yeah. I know a lot of coworkers that just took a day today. It's like, even though they have power and they can finally work, they're like, I need to decompress from this, which I don't blame anybody for that at all. Yeah.
No, it like we said, it is a little bit or a lot draining, and it depends, especially depending on your individual situation, because it's varied so wildly, like, for all of us. Like, some people had power, some people didn't, some people,
Right. That's why I hit you guys up and I was like, hey guys, we need to record an episode on this right now.
Pressure.
We just got power. We need to record. That's a joke. But anyway, speaking of historical events, COVID and insurrection, historic deep freeze, we got a direct for the first time in what feels like 50 centuries. I was not expecting that. We got the announcement on Tuesday that the direct was coming Wednesday. Is that right?
I think that's correct.
That's right.
This week has been a real whirlwind of like, I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time it is. I don't know what but I think you're right. And also, like, that was like my worst day too. And so it was a little bit like, okay, what? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm boiling snow.
Yeah.
Patrick, I think in Discord you were like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. I'm taking it day by day. I just boiled snow. Something like that.
Yeah. Like, I have no drinking water and I don't know if I will. So I am trying to boil snow in case we need it.
Yeah. It definitely makes me like understand when Nintendo like delayed that direct, because there was like a hurricane, or what was it, the tsunami in Japan.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, people need to like heal a little bit.
Yeah,
but not for a direct in America.
Yeah, well, and also you can't. There's going to be a crisis somewhere, probably, right? Like,
it's a crisis. It's crisis o'clock somewhere. I will say, having basically. I actually got kind of emotional when the direct was starting. not just because we haven't had one in a long time. That wouldn't make me cry. I'm not a fucking. I mean, come on. But I did get a little emotional because I'd just been going through this crazy thing for the past few days, and eating spam and scraping stuff out of cans and whatnot, and then just having left Nate and Leslie's house, and then Rob and Jeremy show up, and then almost immediately the direct starts, and all of a sudden it's 4 of us in the room just getting hyped watching my TV for a direct. It was kind of like a really magical thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like, and I was just kind of beaten down by everything. I had like 0 sleep the previous night. None of them had any sleep too. And it was just like, man, this is crazy that we're just all watching this and getting hyped together right now. It just feels otherworldly, I'm glad it happened.
Well, should we transition to talking about the direct?
Oh, yeah, I thought we already.
We already did, right? That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
I agree with that sentiment of like, before we get into like the greatest hits of the direct, I think generally what I miss the most is just being hyped about one event where it feels like everyone, the internet generally and gamers holistically are excited about one thing. And it reminded me of like what E3 used to be, where everyone's kind of tuned into this one thing. And that gave some sense of normalcy on a pretty bad week.
Agreed.
Well, let's go into the greatest hits of the direct then. And maybe some of the minor ones that y'all want to also talk about. They opened with a Smash Ultimate character or characters, I guess. The beginning of this is definitely like, is this Smash or is there a new Xenoblade game or is there a new expansion, for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because of the trailer?
Man, as soon as I saw it was Xenoblade, I knew it was Smash.
Yeah, I kind of felt it too. I was like,
because he loves Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Sakurai, and like said he wanted those characters in, right?
Yeah, they made the Mii costume for Rex, but it wasn't Rex. It was Pyra and Mithra, who are coming in March. This is cool, right?
Matt,
it's great.
Speak to me. You have to be
David. You just said
yourself.
You just said that when the Nintendo Direct came on that you started to almost cry, but I think you have started to almost cry because Pyra and Mithra is coming to Smash.
Well, are you excited? You're excited for this, I imagine,
yeah,
right?
Of course. Yeah. It's great to have more Xenoblade representation, especially like a female representation in Smash.
Two female characters.
Yeah, it's great.
Are you happy that it's not Rex, or do you care? I think it's cool that they excluded Rex in a way. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I think, Pyra and Mithra, it's Xenoblade is the story of Rex, but it's really also figuring out the Aegis and understanding why it's there and is it used as a weapon and all of that stuff. So it's really the story of Pyra and Mithra if you ever played the game.
They're like weapons, right? Aren't they swords? Yeah.
Yeah. The whole blade thing is really weird.
Blades,
and like, we could do some deep analysis on that, and the sexualization and all that. But I don't even know what my point was anymore. I started going off.
You got totally distracted by big titties.
Yeah, exactly. I did.
That's fair. That's fair. I get it.
Because it's such a big part of them.
Yeah.
And it's so weird in that game, which I am still playing every once in a while. So
this reveal trailer was great. I loved the announcement, but I also enjoyed that they leaned in with new voice dialogue. The voice actors came back, and I was like, they're really leaning into how hokey Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is, and really lean into that, and I appreciated that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I no offense, Matt, don't hate me, but I could pretty much care less about Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for Xenoblade Chronicles fans, but also I'm really pumped for these characters. Like I said, they're anime sword people. So whatever, that's just the game that Sakurai wants to make, and we've long since accepted that at this point.
I didn't hear anything you said before. I'm pumped for these characters.
But I'll say I just really like the switching mechanic. I think it looks really great that you can switch between them. And like you were saying before, I love that we have 2 new female characters in the game. I think that's really exciting. and both of them just seemed like they've got interesting fucking personalities, and they'll bring a different kind of flair and energy to Smash. And I'm just excited. All of these DLC characters have had interesting, unique mechanics to the characters, and so I'm just excited to play as them. I was definitely thinking that it would be Crash, just because there's been a lot of hype around that recently. But I think that this is definitely the Byleth of this Fighter's Pass. I don't know if you guys would agree
not
with
Min
that. I don't think so. I see this more as like, I don't know. Min I don't see as like an anime sword character. You know what I mean? It's fair. Like this seems like Sakurai really liked Byleth, and I think he like really liked these characters, and these seem like Sakurai picks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I get the feeling that these are those. Or Matt picks. Maybe Matt picked.
Yeah, I picked them. It does make me wonder what their amiibo might be. Is it just going to be one, or are they going to be separate?
Or half and half?
Yeah.
Half and half, like Two-Face.
Well, either that, or like it'll be the bottom half of Mithra and the top half of Pyra.
Is this like a mermaid? Do you want to...
Yeah, like a reverse mermaid. Yeah.
Okay.
We're having fun. We're having fun here.
So that was the Smash news. We'll find out more. It sounds like they're coming in March. Our friend Takahashi comes on, and then they show us Fall Guys. That's good to hear. Fall Guys is coming to the Switch in the summer. I know that was a big game that's kind of fallen off the radar, so maybe this will give it some...
I think this will breathe new life into it for sure.
Yeah.
I think I have Fall Guys on PC. I was fortunate enough to get a code for that game from Devolver, but I'll buy this on the Switch. This just seems like a game that's made for the Switch, and it seems like a lot of fun to play handheld in bed before you go to bed and stuff like that with friends. So totally. I'll be picking this up for sure.
They showed off Outer Wilds also coming summer, so that's cool. Y'all jump in or mention things I skip, but the Famicom Detective Club games are coming, and as somebody who's kind of fallen in love with the Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright games, I'm excited about this. Like coming out in May, it seems very similar, visual novel-esque kind of games. I don't know much about these games. David, do you know the history of these games at all?
Yeah. So the Famicom Detective Club games were, I think, for the Super Famicom. I'm pretty sure. I was actually just looking that up because I don't want to give wrong information, but they're like SNES games that were never released in the US or anywhere outside of Japan. So this is kind of following in a trend recently with Nintendo. They localized the original Fire Emblem after a long time, and then I guess whenever they were doing these like new Switch versions, remakes of these Super Famicom games, they decided to do the localization for them as well for the West. So, I mean, these are very popular games in Japan, and this is the first time that we'll be able to play these stories and kind of see the history of some of these series. So I'm excited for it. I think visually, this game looks incredible, I think, because it's doing the visual novel thing, but everything is like at least lightly animated. Yeah. And I think that style actually was working really well for me. I was like, I'll probably pick this up because you were making comparisons to Phoenix Wright, but even that looks like so stagnant compared to the graphical style of this game. So it really seems
trailer.
like right. And I'm sure it might be a little different when you're playing it, but I mean, I was very impressed with how the game looked visually as someone who's kind of, you see one visual novel, you've kind of seen them all. This like kind of gives it a different flair, I think.
I agree with all that. So I will also be looking into getting these in May. They showed off Samurai Warriors 5 also coming in the summer. Legend of Mana remaster coming in June, which I guess is coming to some other platforms too, but like that's pretty cool. It's not one I ever played on the PlayStation or anything. Did y'all play that game? Are y'all excited about that? I don't know. Just me.
I did not play it. So you did play that game?
I didn't play it. I'm intrigued by it. Like,
I'm intrigued. Yeah.
Because I played Secret of Mana, but not Legend of Mana.
Yeah.
Listen, Square Enix.
Yeah.
You're bringing back the Legend of Mana series, and it's great, but there's one series that everyone wants.
Yeah.
I don't even need to say it, but it rhymes with Bono Trigger. It's Chrono Trigger.
No, I agree. I think that they absolutely should do that. But I mean, I think they're testing the waters, and you know,
it's got to be.
You know, I'm sure it will come. You know, I mean, they know how popular that series is, and particularly Chrono Trigger. But I mean, look at this direct. This was the first of 3 like 3D 2D games. You know what I mean? Like this was the PlayStation style where it's like sprites, but with like a 3D background or like a pre-rendered background. Like there were multiple games like that in this direct, and I love that graphic style. Like I'm super into it. Like
me too.
I picked up Star Ocean First Departure for the Switch mainly because I like that style. Right, that was like a PSP remaster, I think, for the Switch, and so I'm down for that kind of stuff. And it's clear that, you know, Square Enix is all in on the Switch, and they're all in on now porting these old games. I expect we'll see some stuff with Chrono Trigger. I just think they're probably going to be giving it quite a bit more love. And they're kind of putting these out first to kind of see how they sell.
Yeah. They showed us the new Monster Hunter Rise trailer, and I guess the themed Switch is coming to the US because they showed that off, and the Pro Controller. And then Mario Golf. We got Mario Golf. This is exciting.
Let's fucking
Mario
go.
Golf Super Rush coming June 25th. I am cautiously optimistic about this game.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned because the Tennis Aces wasn't stellar, that this might be a similar situation, but hopeful that it's better.
See, I thought Tennis Aces was great.
Yeah, it was a good game. Just like the story mode wasn't that great. The game,
Right.
The mechanics of the actual tennis match were great, and it was fun. But the animations weren't that great, and the story mode wasn't that great, and it just kind of fell by the wayside because of that. And the slow rollout of the updates, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think we can expect that again this time.
I think we can too. That's why I'm cautiously optimistic.
Camelot
Yes.
Software, are they also doing this?
I assume so. I don't think they said, did they?
No, it's Camelot. Yes. And I agree. I think that the story mode for Mario Tennis Aces was a pretty big disappointment, especially as somebody who's such a fan of Mario Tennis Power Tour for the Game Boy Advance, which is basically what I wanted. I wanted that game it's a top-down RPG with tennis as the battle mechanics. I've talked about it on the show before. I doubt that we'll be seeing any kind of improvement over the story mode from Tennis Aces in Mario Golf. But I'm just personally pumped beyond all hell for this game. For some reason recently, I've been getting back into golf games. Like Sasha and I have been playing a lot of golf games. We've been playing like Neo Turf Masters and Golf Story and even Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics Golf. So that's been something we've been doing a lot recently, and I showed this to Sasha, and she was super excited as well.
I particularly don't like golf games, but I love arcade sports games. Something about like the quick action to make it really fun and less technical really appeals to me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to play a technical golf game where you have to like carefully pick the, club and all that, but like a nice arcadey one like this probably is. Yeah.
Sure. I just I think the fun thing about golf games is like it's all like a game of like approximating ratios, right? It's like I know this club hits this far and the ball is about this distance, so I'm going to aim about that much, but then I'm also going to aim probably this much against the wind because I know it's blowing this much. And so it's all like kind of trusting your gut as far as like where you think things should go. And so once you kind of get it down, it becomes really satisfying to like hit it right on the money. You know what I mean? And so something about that mechanic I really like about golf games. And this just looks like it takes it to the next level. And speed golf looks super fun.
Speed golf is part of it too, right? Yeah. And then hopefully, knock on wood, there's some online play and we can have speed golf online.
Yeah, just like Mario Tennis Aces brought fighting game mechanics into tennis, it looks like this is bringing 3D platforming mechanics into golf.
Yeah, you get a star as you run or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the Mii's was another big surprise for this game. It has felt like Nintendo has kept Mii's around only as a kind of we have to, but hasn't really put them in new games. But here's a new game where they put in Mii's.
This is the first of two that they showed off during this direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of striking to me. which maybe we'll talk about more when we get to the next one, or I don't know.
Yeah, let's hold on it. But yeah, I'll just say right now, I love playing as my Mii. My Mii looks exactly like me, and so whenever I have my Mii in a game, I just feel like I'm a video game character, and that makes me feel awesome. So I'm Nintendo, put Mii's back. Bring Mii's back. I love Mii's.
Yeah, I think Mii's are good. There was kind of a couple quick look at some games after the Mario Golf game. I don't know if there's any of these you want to talk about.
Before we move on, do y'all have any speculation about what the other golfers might be in Mario Golf?
It's a good question. You know, in Tennis Aces, they brought out some really, maybe not like Dr. Mario World level characters, but some like, you know, unique characters.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Hopefully we do get those Dr. Mario World characters.
Hopefully you can golf as the dolphin or
well, I know King Bob-omb will be playable in this game.
I think that Camelot wants to pull some of these weirder characters for these titles. So I think we can expect some odd Mario enemies and stuff. I
can't wait to play as the Bush who can palette swap to be the Cloud.
Yeah, nice. Is there anybody you want to see, Matthew?
No one in particular. Just more Waluigi. I don't know. I feel
he's
like
wearing a fedora in this trailer.
Yeah, I feel like he's it's gonna be great. He's gonna be the best character that there is.
Moiji.
So then, if we're ready to move on, there was some games like Tales from the Borderlands, the Capcom Arcade Stadium, Stubbs the Zombie. They showed off No More Heroes.
Hey, don't disrespect Stubbs the Zombie like that.
Have you played it?
Oh yeah, it's like a classic GameCube game or PS2 game.
I missed whatever that was,
this might not surprise you, but Jeremy went apeshit for Stubbs the Zombie.
Doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
It's just further proof that Nintendo really, truly will bring anything to Switch.
Yeah. And everybody wants to get their game on the Switch because it might sell.
Yeah.
And then No More Heroes 3 got a date of August 27th. So if you've been waiting for that one, and that game just looks fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's looking good, honestly.
They showed off some new Annapurna game called Neon White. That was weird looking to me, but if you were into it, that's cool.
I'm trying to remember what the mechanic was
like
for
fight
that.
Demons in heaven, and then I honestly kind of checked out.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was like going to be Shin Megami Tensei, but then it wasn't. So
wasn't it? It was a first-person shooter, right?
Yeah, it was like a Mirror's Edge-esque game with card mechanics.
Right, card mechanics, and then almost like Quake-esque, like speed first-person shooting. Right, like kind of Twitch first-person shooting. Pretty interesting. I'm into it. I mean, I love what Annapurna does. I like that they take risks, and I think they put a lot of energy and money behind developers that have really unique ideas. So I'll definitely be trying this one out.
But why are demons in heaven?
I don't know.
They didn't build a wall.
I tuned out. There were a couple more games shown off. DC Superhero Girls, Plants vs. Zombies. Happy for people that are interested in those games. Moving on.
That's when I tuned out.
Yeah. Miitopia was the next interesting thing here.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah. May 21st. So this was like a DS game. Wait, I never played this.
This is a 3DS game.
3DS game.
I forget. Was this game like included in the 3DS?
I don't know, but I have heard people be like, I can't believe they're going to charge $50
$50 for it. Yeah. It definitely seems like they're expanding it a little bit, but it was a game that would use Street Pass a lot, and it would use people that you walk by to make them characters in a kind of ongoing, ever-growing RPG that you'd basically be playing. It never really felt like a full game. It felt more like a showcase for Mii's, right?
Yeah.
But still, it was really fun. I played it a lot. There's a Miitopia stage in Smash Ultimate, which is what obviously it's based on this game. But yeah, I just think this is just another example of Nintendo bringing Mii's back into the forefront this year. Which I think. Sorry, go ahead. No.
I was just gonna say this looks like a fun game for me to play with my kid, and that was what I was kind of excited about. Like we can make Mii's for all of us in the family, and then cast them in the, you know what I mean? Like he's played like Paper Mario with me, but like this will be like his first real RPG maybe, even though it's not a real, I don't, you know what I mean? Like I just kind of excited about that aspect of it.
Yeah. I agree $50 is too much for this game. This game should be $40.
That's what it was on the 3DS, I think.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, all 3DS games are $40.
Yeah.
Right. But I thought this game was a pack-in, but yeah, I for me, I'm excited to play this. I don't know that I'll buy it, but I want to, so we'll see. I might just have infinite money sometime, and I'll just buy every game. but this to me, I think I just want to see more Mii games. I want Tomodachi Life. If Tomodachi Life comes to the Switch, I'll buy that immediately. And then really what they need to do is just merge Wii Sports 1 and 2 and call it Wii Sports Deluxe. Or excuse me, Mii Sports Deluxe. Yeah. That's what I think that they should do. I hope that's what they're building up to with all this like Mii hype.
Yeah, I agree. If I can have the same cadence as a bit before, I can be like, Nintendo, listen, I see you putting out Miitopia, but everyone wants Wii Sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got to give it a little bit of time because it's got golf in it, and it would be a competitor to Mario Golf.
We'll see. They showed off the Mario stuff that's coming to Animal Crossing. You can make your island basically look like Mario level. My son got real excited about this and started playing Animal Crossing after that.
Just wrecking your island.
Yes.
Yeah.
he is, but whatever.
The big part of this is the pipes, right?
Yeah, you can warp to some other part of your island. That's cool, I guess.
That's like hugely functional.
Yeah, it is functional.
That's great. That should have been there from day one.
That's coming on February 25th. And then I know they mentioned kind of Mario after that, and then they showed off this Project Triangle strategy, which I know a lot of people in the Switch Headz group are real excited about and have been playing the demo. The game's not set to come out till next year, but the demo is out now, and they're getting feedback and that kind of stuff. And it's like a strategy. It's like what you're talking about, David, that art style of that sort of 2D, 3D, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy Tactics with Fire Emblem Three Houses as the story.
Yeah.
It's like three houses of people, and I don't know if it's like a school, but I don't know. It's just, it's Final Fantasy Three Houses Tactics. Octopath.
Yeah. Sounds very strategy tactical from what people on our Discord have been saying.
I will play this game, but only if the Switch Headz community bullies me into playing.
I think they will.
Yeah.
I mean, not if it's going to stop you from playing Fire Emblem Three Houses.
I'll play it. Get off my back, David.
I made the mistake of firing up this demo when Sasha, Rob, and Jeremy were all sitting on my couch and watching me play.
That's stressful.
Yeah, well, because the game starts, and at the very opening screen, it's like, you're being dropped into the middle of the story. You won't understand anything that's going on. There's lots of characters. Just let it wash over you. And then it's like 25 minutes of dialogue.
Oh my God.
From like all these characters. I never even got to the gameplay. Like I straight up, like I was just watching dialogue from characters who I didn't know. I didn't know what they were talking about. I didn't understand anything that was going on for 25 minutes. And then I gave up.
I think our feedback to the developers is, why would you do that?
Yeah, it's just like, you're not going to know who any of these people are. You're not going to know what they're talking about, but listen to them for 25 minutes.
Yeah, then just get me to the battle.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Weird.
Anyway, I'll give it another try when I'm alone and I don't have the pressure of people being bored around me.
Star Wars Hunters coming out sometime this year. Free-to-play game. What do we think about this? They didn't really show much. It's just kind of a teaser, right?
Yeah, no gameplay. It's like a Star Wars hero shooter.
Interesting.
I'll try it out.
See.
It's free.
We'll see. Yeah, free. Weird trailer for this Knockout City game, which I'm not that interested in, but that trailer was fucking weird. It was like interviews with orcs and other video game characters. Do y'all remember this? Like, I feel like I saw this trailer.
It's like the dodgeball game.
Yeah, it was so long. Anyway,
that smelled like a free to play game to me as well. I don't know if they said that it was at the end, but
it felt like it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they said either. They showed off this World's End Club game. I don't know. That was funny to me because they showed 12 people on a bike, and I liked that.
I don't remember this game at all either.
It was a weird sort of anime. I don't know.
Patrick, why is 12 people on a bike funny?
Because it's not practical.
It's supposed to be just one person, but it's 12.
I mean, maybe you can have a 2-person bike, but anyway.
It's tandem dum 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 dum.
Hades is getting a physical release. The Ninja Gaiden Master Collection is coming out in June.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I thought for sure when they showed that the direct would end with another Smash character reveal. It would be Ryu Hayabusa. Yeah. But that's cool that they're releasing all 3 in one pack.
Yeah. That is cool. Hyrule Warriors is getting the Age of Calamity. Hyrule Warriors is getting DLC. That was another, I want to talk about the way they did that was so weird. Is like they said like Hyrule Warriors is getting some additional content. And then it was like a cutscene trailer. And then they just like put up the DLC card image. Yeah. And it was like, okay.
It looked exactly like the card for Breath of the Wild DLC.
Like you have to pause it and like read it if you wanted to get any information. Just a funny way they did it, but more stuff coming into that game in June and November. It sounds like
that's a paid DLC, right? It's a $20 pass. Yeah,
they didn't give much, or they didn't explain it, but
yeah,
whatever. Let's see. I don't know. Go through these quickly. Bravely Default 2 shown off. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. All games coming this month. We know about Saga Frontier Remastered. I think we already knew about that, but maybe I'm getting my Saga games mixed up there.
Yeah. That was another one of those 2D, 3D, old school looking games.
Apex Legends was mentioned. It's coming in March 9th to Switch. Matthew, yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Let's play. I'm ready.
And then Eiji Aonuma comes on and says, I'm here and I don't have any news for you on Breath of the Wild 2.
This is the second time he's done that now.
It's really funny.
The first time was for Age of Calamity, right? He's like, I know you all want Breath of the Wild 2. I was not expecting any Breath of the Wild 2, so I was not disappointed.
Do you think we're going to get a third time where he comes on and talks about some other Zelda game?
Almost certainly.
Yes, there's got to be a third beat to this.
There's got to be a third beat to
He's going to apologize even more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't know why anybody was expecting big Breath of the Wild 2 or Zelda remaster stuff. I mean, I guess there was some Zelda remaster stuff, but like...
That's what we're getting into, yeah.
But it's like, I think that we will get a Zelda Direct like we got a Mario Direct last year.
You still think so? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's going to be like Skyward Sword's out and then Breath of the Wild 2 later in the year. Right. No, yeah. No, I think eventually, like, the Wii U was kind of legendary because the Wii U was like a place where you could play literally every Zelda game ever made. You know what I mean? You could emulate the DS games using the touchpad and the screen. It had every other game before that up. I mean, even now with Breath of the Wild, you know what I mean? Like, it even has Breath of the Wild. So it was like a Zelda machine. I think they're going to move all of them over to the Switch eventually. It would be stupid for them not to, especially if the next Switch is backwards compatible with this Switch, right? And they're kind of, you could see with the Skyward Sword thing, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but as you can see with the Skyward Sword thing, is they're making it to where these games now are future-proofed for any kind of system that comes out. You know what I mean? It's like before you really had to play it with
the
Wiimote and Nunchuck, right? But now it's like you have an option. You can play it with buttons. So like 10 systems from now, Nintendo will be able to release this game on it, right? I think that's what they're doing with all these Zelda games. It's like trying to get it to where you can just put them on everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So he was there not to talk about Breath of the Wild 2, obviously, but to talk about Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which is coming out July 16th. That's totally fine. And they talked a lot about the controls and how you can play with motion controls, but you don't have to. And they've kind of redone the motion controls and for the Switch and that kind of stuff. It was also kind of fascinating to hear him talk about the influences of Skyward Sword on Breath of the Wild. I thought that was an interesting an interesting thing that they said, which am I reading too much into that? Like, why do you think they talked about that? Is that just strictly to get, because Breath of the Wild was so successful, to get people to be like, look, this game is similar, play this, or like, am I putting on a tinfoil hat to think there's more to that?
No, yes and no. I think that you're right. I think, yeah, it was like, there's a whole shit ton of people whose first Zelda game was Breath of the Wild. And I think what I understood it as was like, hey, just so you know, you're not going to be able to climb on everything in this game. You know what I mean? Like, I know that you're used to Zelda games now being super open world where you can do everything, but not every Zelda game used to be like that. And this is not like that. But it's got a stamina bar. And
it's got a stamina bar.
And you can float. You know what I mean? So I think it's tempering people's expectations whose first Zelda was Breath of the Wild, you know?
Yeah. And there's going to be cool Joy-Cons that tie into Skyward Sword. They do look cool, but they're Joy-Cons, and we all know those don't work very good. Let's see. That was sort of the second to last big announcement.
Have you guys played Skyward Sword?
Yeah.
Yes, but I did not beat it. And so I am looking forward to playing it on the Switch.
Yeah.
For that reason.
I love Skyward Sword.
I was talking about this with Jay on the Discord because he said the same thing. I got to a point where I got frustrated and just kind of quit playing it. And not like I consciously like, I'm never going to play that again, but I just set it down and never went back to it.
Yeah.
And now I'm excited to actually to go through with it.
I hope they add some quality of life stuff to it because it definitely needs it.
That'll help.
Yeah.
But it is such a fun world. I love. Why can't I think of the name of the sky wings, Skyloft? What all of the
loft wings.
Loft wings.
Yeah. You were dancing around it. Yeah.
Pilot wings.
It was pilot wing. We all know it was pilot wings.
Skyward Sword
good stuff.
Skyward Sword is great just because it's the from a Zelda canon timeline perspective, it's the earliest Zelda representation in the timeline. So you learn a lot about like the Sheikah tribe and the decisions that they make about protecting the Triforce and the hero Link and all of that. So it's cool from a story perspective too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the story. I loved the gameplay. I thought the controls, I loved the motion controls in that game. I thought they used it in a really creative way that was actually like some of the best implementation of motion controls, at best and most creative implementation of motion controls that didn't feel like a gimmick. It felt like they really truly built the game around it, right? And I loved that about that game. And even the handheld controls, I think, look interesting. And I'm looking forward to trying it in that. I don't know if you guys ever played Dead Island, like that zombie game.
That was Dead Island, that zombie game that had like the incredible E3 trailer that one year.
And then it was like a pretty bad game.
Yeah, I know the game you're talking about.
Dead Island, it kind of plays like Borderlands a little bit. It's like a 4-player like co-op RPG where you're on like an island resort and it's overrun by zombies. And it's definitely like pretty janky and like has a ton of issues, but it was a ton of fun to play. I played it with 4 people back in the day online, and I had a great time. But that game had a really interesting alternative control scheme that not a lot of people used. Like basically you could just press R or like the right trigger and you would just bash like you would normally do in a game with melee. But it also had an alternative control scheme where you could hold R and it would prep you. And then depending on the direction that you swiped the stick, you would swipe in that direction. So you could like easily like chop off someone's arm or chop off their head, depending on how you swung by how you moved the control stick. And that's exactly what this control scheme reminded me of when watching this. And so that is making me interested because I enjoyed that game way more than I would have. I'm talking about Dead Island if I hadn't played it that way. You know what I mean? And I thought it made it pretty fun. So I'm interested to try it in handheld as well. I think it'd be a completely different experience.
Listen, Deep Silver, bring back Dead Island.
They are. They've been working on a new Dead Island for like 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah. It's like in development hell. Yeah.
So the Direct had its final thing after Skyward Sword, and that is Splatoon 3 is coming in 2022. Wow, that was kind of unexpected for me.
Did not expect that at all.
What do y'all think about this? You excited? It looked pretty cool. I think it definitely looks like they went with the like chaos thing or something that won, and they kind of have like a wasteland vibe going.
That's right.
on.
Yeah, the last Splatfest was chaos versus order, and they said that the winner would determine like the theme of the next Splatoon game, and there it was. It was all fucking Mad Max post-apocalypse. Yeah.
And that wasn't that long ago, so it makes you wonder what,
Well,
like,
I've got a theory about that.
were they prepared to go both ways? Is it both ways?
Yeah.
They kind of showed that flashing when the Inkling is like at Inkopoulos Square, where I was like, is this two different things? They're that weird cutting. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. And this is another thing that Jeremy and I were discussing because Rob passed out during the direct because he hadn't slept in 48 hours. But Jeremy and I were discussing this about like they had to have been working on this for a while already. It's not like they were going to wait to start developing concepts based on who won that Splatfest, if it was chaos or order, right? But so it's either it was like that, which would be like a huge waste of like resources and probably a waste of what's the word I'm looking for? Like concept designers' time and energy and stuff like that. Or the idea is it starts with like a chaos theme and then eventually is going to go into an order theme, and it's going to have both, right? But I think order would have been pretty dope, actually. You know what I mean? If you think about it, if it was like surveillance state, fucking 1984 dystopia instead of like Mad Max dystopia, like that would be pretty cool too. So I do hope they do end up with both themes in the game, because there's a lot of games with like sand already.
Yeah. And that we got a while to wait on that. So this also is like, man, I think it inspired some Switch Heads. There's been some talk about playing Splatoon 2, but it's also inspired me to be like, I want to go back and beat the DLC that I bought that I didn't quite get too deep into. So
Splatoon is so cool.
Yeah.
It's just got a cool vibe. I really like it a lot.
I wasn't sure too when it opened, is this like a Splatoon spin-off game? It kind of felt like it might be.
Yeah.
But then it's not. So
yeah, this is like a fun opening sequence. Although I will say, like, there looks like there's nothing new to the gameplay, but we're a whole year away. I'm sure they'll be updating it throughout its lifespan. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and there might be a really different mode or single player thing or something. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm just like happy for Splatoon. I'm happy that it's taken off. It's a great new IP. I'm happy that it's like so popular that it can close a direct.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Cool. Well, so was this a good direct?
Yeah, let's rate it out of 10. What would you guys give it?
I think this is a pretty darn good direct in
Yeah.
my book. I went away feeling like, man, a lot of this stuff I would like to play.
Yeah.
And that to me makes that a really good direct, and almost like, man, there's more stuff I want to play than I can, which sometimes I watch a direct and be like, okay, there were a couple cool highlights, but this one had a lot for me. So this is up there. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Matt.
For me, I'll be that negative Nancy and say probably 7 for me.
That's
pretty
that's
good.
only one less than 8.
No, listen, that's a C. You're giving it
It's
a
a
B.
C.
There's a big difference. You're not going to get into college with C's. Maybe now you'll probably get a community college.
So this
I don't
isn't-
fucking
this
know how
isn't-
colleges work.
This isn't the IGN scoring system. This is the school scoring system.
Yeah, exactly.
Where everything below 70% is 0, basically.
It was a good direct experience too, like the
Agreed,
pacing of it and all that. Like it was fun to watch some, nice mix of new and old and ups and downs, and
Yeah.
very cool.
I think that ultimately it could have been a little bit more hype. I'd probably give it like a 7 as well. But the fact that we haven't had one in so long was so exciting, and watching it with my friends, and getting hyped after like it was like a release after a really difficult couple days.
Yeah.
And so that that kind of probably boosted it up to an 8, but I don't know if I should count that. But it's in the 7. Well, I think we've landed on about 7.5 for this direct. I think so. Right? Yeah. I'm glad to see that they're back. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I had it an 8 up until Splatoon 3 was 2022.
Too far off for you.
Too far off. Everything else is summertime or earlier.
Okay, well,
summer 2021.
Here's the more important rating. How would you guys rate your survival skills during this Icepocalypse?
Man.
Out of 10. Out of 10. And it's high school rating, not IGN.
It's high school. I would say probably a B plus. My partner and I, we're already kind of paranoid as it is. So we have prepped a lot of stuff during COVID. I have pre-existing conditions. So
right.
I bought a bunch of stuff, and we were not worried when we lost power too much. And we had plenty of water if something really bad happened, or if we were without power for a week or a couple of weeks. So,
Patrick,
I don't know. I'm like, I think it's tricky because like the first day or two, my wife really stepped up, and I was just kind of like, I don't know what to do, and you know what I mean. And she was doing great, and then we kind of flipped, you know.
Yeah.
And some of that is having a partner. So as a partnership, I think we did pretty great. But personally, I might not give myself that great. I mean, I think I did what we had to do, and like I trekked to a few convenience stores by foot because I couldn't do anything else. And found us some drinks and stuff like so I was like, oh, I did okay providing, and we did stuff. So 5, 6 out of 10.
Oof, that's a failing grade, bud.
Yeah.
Hey, we survived.
David, how about you?
I'd give myself a C minus, or a D for preparation, and I'd give myself a B plus, A minus for wherewithal and can-do attitude. Now when we, I felt like I was able to tackle the stuff as it came. But like inside I was like, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing, but I like pretended like I knew what I was doing, so much so that I believed it. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And like we had zero food, like we ran out of food like before this thing started, and still somehow we like ate every night. You know what I mean? And so like that, I was pretty proud of that. You know, I thought we did a good job. Sasha did a lot of like great cooking with like limited shit. You know what I mean? So like I thought we made do really, really well, but man, it's making me want to prep. It's making me want to get a fucking bunker. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, definitely. I think unfortunately that like the takeaway for people is going to be that we can't trust our government, and we all need to like prep. You know what I mean?
I think more regulation is the takeaway from this, honestly.
Well, I hope that's the takeaway, but I'm afraid that people aren't going to have faith in that. And
anyway, we've been over this, but anyway, this is a pretty long for a special episode.
Yeah, we'll stop here.
No, it's okay. What were you going to say, Matt?
Curious, Patrick, how did you gather your snow?
We have like a really big flat pancake flipping spatula, and so I would go into the backyard and take that to get the top layer of snow and put it in directly into the pot that I was going to boil it into, which I had with me.
It's just like
in like a certain area of our yard where it felt clean. But then when it came to just collecting snow for like flushing toilets and stuff, we just had a bucket, and I just get whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
I had water the whole time. Sorry, fellas.
Lucky dog.
Yeah. I feel very fortunate. God, I was so worried my pipes are going to burst, though. I thought I was going to lose water at any second. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the fear of like you're lose water, and if your pipes burst, then you might lose all your stuff. And then will you be able to work? Because you know the insurance companies are going to be like wrapped up for weeks in order to get an estimate on the lost goods, all of that stuff.
Team Chaos certainly won Texas's Splatfest this past week.
And it will continue to win.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like we said. It's not over. I don't think we're
the reconstruction is beginning. Like next week, we'll see what happens.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, thanks for listening to us talk about our week and the direct. Let us know if you were in Austin. We'd love to hear from you. We didn't mention, but we got a lot of us Switch Heads. We were talking on the Discord about stuff, and I know everybody had some tough experiences. So
yeah, and we'll get more into like Discord shout outs and all that kind of stuff when we get back to normal episodes next week.
But thanks for listening. Thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. www.switchheadz.com is the website, ladies and gentlemen. Add a super before it if you want. I don't care. Both URLs will direct you to the same place. And then we've got our Discord, obviously, which is a great, wonderful community. And then our Facebook group, which is its own great community in and of itself. Make sure you join all those if you're interested in talking with like-minded people about subjects that you all share in common. Folks, we're going to be back this upcoming Wednesday to do our regularly scheduled show. This past week, before we all lost power, we were going to do an episode on Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which we streamed. If you haven't watched that yet, the VOD is up on our YouTube. But we'll be back with Cena, who we were on the stream with, to talk about our takeaways from Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury, what it could mean for the future of the Mario franchise, and all the news you can shake a stick at that's not direct related, because you just listened to all that. All right? Also, hey, remember, if you want to skip what we talked about at the beginning, you can check the timestamps. I'm just
David,
kidding.
thanks for having me back on the podcast after I was a little bitch from playing Mario 3D World.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was a real pain in the ass. We'll definitely get into that more on our show that comes out on Wednesday. But, folks, that's going to do it. Stay safe out there. Stay hydrated. Try to keep your power going. Get vaccinated. I feel like I have to add more things to this thing every time. Vote Democrat. Do all this.
Drip your faucets.
Yeah, drip your faucets. Wear a mask. Fucking, kiss your ass goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you very much. We'll see you this Wednesday. Bye-bye.